James Carter had dedicated 2 decades to constructing his dream home. Every brick, every window, every square inch of his property was a testament to his relentless effort, discipline, and unwavering commitment. As a prosperous entrepreneur, he had climbed from humble beginnings, growing up in a tough neighborhood, working 2 jobs through college, and eventually building a successful business. His house was more than just a place to live. It symbolized everything he had worked so hard to achieve and overcome. Yet, not everyone saw it in the same light. His neighbor, Karen Whitmore, a bitter, entitled woman who had lived in the area long before James moved in, harbored an obvious disdain for him. From the very day he purchased the property, Karen made it her mission to make his life miserable. She grumbled about his cars, his landscaping, and even the soft music he played on weekends. It was as though she was determined to find fault in everything he did. Where are you watching this today? Drop a comment and let us know below. At first, James chose to ignore her. After all, he had dealt with people like Karen before, those who felt superior simply because of the color of his skin. He had faced discrimination all his life, but he had no intention of letting her petty remarks get to him. He had worked too hard and come too far to let a racist neighbor steal his peace of mind. However, Karen wasn't just a nuisance. She was vindictive and had influence in places James never anticipated. One day, James opened a letter that would change everything, a foreclosure notice. His heart pounded as he read through the legal language. The notice claimed he had failed to make property tax payments, resulting in the county seizing his home and scheduling it for auction. James couldn't believe what he was reading. He had always kept track of his finances. He had never missed a payment. Panic surged through him as he meticulously checked his records. Every single document confirmed what he already knew. He was up to date on everything. Doubt quickly morphed into outrage. He had put everything into this home, and he wasn't about to lose it because of some clerical error, or worse, a malicious scheme. He immediately reached out to the tax office, hoping to resolve the situation swiftly, but instead, he was met with dismissive responses, automated messages, and unhelpful clerks who treated him like just another delinquent homeowner. Not willing to accept the situation, James drove to the county office, demanding answers. He spent hours waiting, only to be told the same thing. Sir, according to our records, you owe back taxes. There's nothing we can do. This wasn't just a bureaucratic issue. It felt deeply wrong. Determined to get to the bottom of it, James hired a lawyer. After weeks of investigation, they uncovered something truly shocking. Karen had used her connections within the local government to manipulate officials and falsify James' tax records. She had bribed a corrupt clerk to make it appear as though James had missed his payments, effectively stealing his home. And the auction was scheduled for that very afternoon. James rushed to the auction house, his heart racing. He walked in just in time, and the room was buzzing with eager buyers looking to snag properties for a fraction of their worth. The auctioneer stood at the front, flipping through papers, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit. The room was filled with the hum of excitement and strategy as real estate investors prepared to place their bids. The walls were covered with banners reading "Foreclosure Sale" and "Final Opportunity," while clerks dashed around confirming paperwork. For them, it was just another transaction. But for James, this was everything. In the front row sat Karen, her smug grin practically glowing as she sat with her arms crossed, clearly satisfied. Her eyes flickered to the auctioneer as she imagined herself walking away with the deed to James' home. The thought of her reveling in his downfall stirred a fresh wave of anger in him, but James remained calm. He wasn't here to lose. He was here to fight. His fists clenched in determination. Never before had he felt so powerless, but he refused to back down. And then, just as the auctioneer was about to start the bidding, something unexpected happened. The doors flew open, and a group of men in suits walked in. At the front was a stern-looking man holding a briefcase. He called out, "Wait," holding up a court order. "This auction is illegal." A murmur spread through the room, and the auctioneer frowned. "Excuse me, sir, but this property has been cleared for sale," he replied, clearly confused. The man shook his head. Not anymore. My client, he gestured toward James, was targeted by fraud. This foreclosure was orchestrated through illegal means, and we have proof that the county records were tampered with. Karen's confident smile immediately vanished. She stiffened and said sharply, "That's ridiculous. This house was legally foreclosed. He didn't pay his taxes." The lawyer ignored her outburst and handed the auctioneer a folder. Inside were documents proving James had paid every tax on time, along with evidence of the bribery scheme that Karen had orchestrated. The auctioneer flipped through the papers, his expression darkening with each page. His gaze darted between the documents, then to James, and then to the crowd of confused bidders. Finally, he straightened up, cleared his throat, and addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, the sale of this property is officially canceled." A collective gasp echoed through the room as people exchanged bewildered glances. The air that had been thick with excitement moments earlier now felt heavy with confusion and tension. James exhaled in relief. The fight for his home was over, but the real consequences for Karen had only just begun. As she attempted to sneak out of the room, 2 police officers blocked her path. "Karen Whitmore," one of them said. She froze. "What?" she demanded. "You're under arrest for fraud, bribery, and conspiracy to commit real estate theft." The entire room fell silent as the officers placed handcuffs on her, her desperate protests drowning out the murmurs of the onlookers. "This is a mistake. I didn't do anything," she screamed. James couldn't help but smile as he calmly responded, "You really thought you could steal my home and get away with it?" His voice was steady, but there was an undeniable edge to it. "Well, looks like the law disagrees." The officers led Karen out of the auction house, kicking and screaming, her arrogance now replaced with panic. The same woman who had once been a powerful, feared figure in the neighborhood was now nothing more than a cautionary tale. With his home officially returned to him, James took legal action, suing Karen for damages. The case was straightforward, and Karen lost badly. Not only did she lose the case, but she also had to pay a substantial settlement to cover James' legal fees and the emotional distress she had caused him. But the most poetic part of it all? Karen lost everything. The legal fees bankrupted her, and her own home was seized to pay off her mounting debts. The very same county office she had once manipulated now turned against her, making sure she could never pull off such a scheme again. Her powerful connections abandoned her, unwilling to risk their own careers by associating with a known fraudster. Meanwhile, James didn't just reclaim his home. He made it his mission to ensure no one else suffered the same injustice. He worked with local advocacy groups to push for stronger oversight in property tax and foreclosure processes, exposing the corruption Karen had exploited for her gain. As for Karen, she was now homeless, disgraced, and had no choice but to leave town. The woman who had once been the powerful, feared neighbor was now a broken figure, a warning to others about the dangers of greed and hatred. That night, James walked through the door of his home, the very home he had fought so hard to protect. He felt an overwhelming sense of peace as he stepped inside. He had won. And karma? It had worked faster than he could have ever hoped. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Let's keep spreading the lessons of humility, respect, and human connection. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.